Okay, let's see. I've got my camera, I've got the wide angle lens, I got my filter adapter, my 10-stop filter, my remote, and my tripod. I think it's time to go shoot a waterfall.
Hey guys, what's happening? I hope you can hear me. It's so loud here. I'm out shooting a waterfall. It's really not far from the house, actually pretty close, but it's super beautiful in my opinion. Let me show you what I'm shooting here. Here's a look at it. Pretty cool, right? I just love it here. It's like so peaceful, and you know, it's quiet in terms of outside noise, but obviously the waterfall's pretty loud. But I'm trying to get some long exposures here. I've got my 10-stop filter on. I'm shooting at f/22 for 30 seconds, and just trying to get nice, silky, smooth water. Let me see how they look. One of the things I'm dealing with here is some really harsh shadow. Having been here before, I knew it was down in a gully, kinda. I thought there was gonna be more shade, but with it being basically January, there's no leaves in the trees, so light's just coming in. The sun's right over there beaming straight onto the waterfall, and it's got some pretty harsh shadows. So these are probably gonna look better black and white, maybe a high contrast. We'll see. I'll get them in Luminar here in a minute and give it a look, but I'm definitely liking the long exposure. I'm kind of varying between f/13 and f/22, 30 seconds to a minute, all with the 10-stop, and just experimenting out, having fun. So I feel like I made a little bit of an error in judgment, or in planning, that is, and that is that I didn't bring my zoom lens, and that's because even though I've shot here before, it's been probably a year. This is kind of a wet weather creek. We've had a lot of rain recently, so it's flowing really well, but normally it's not that, you know, not this productive. But since it's been a while since I've been here, I just figured, oh, I'm pretty close to it, because I'm only, you know, what is that, 10, maybe 20 feet away or something. So I thought, oh, wide angle lens would be great, but in reality, I wasn't thinking with my zoom, I could, you know, obviously get tighter compositions and zoom in a little bit. And what this is, with the wide angle, what I'm getting is a lot of dead space between the bottom of the frame and where the waterfall is hitting the surface of the pond or the water. So usually in situations like that, you want to find a foreground element, so like a rock or a tree stump or something that would kind of anchor the photo. And I'm trying to do that. There's a couple of small rocks over here, but they're not really in a good position, and they're not really that interesting. And so I'm counting on the long exposure to let people kind of gloss over the idea that there's nothing sort of anchoring the foreground. The other thing I'm probably going to do is end up cropping this. I might crop to 16:9 and just keep the top part of the frame and cut off some of that bottom. But also, if you look down this way, I'll see if I can show you very well. There are some rocks in the stream that way, so I'm going to walk over there, see if there's anything that's worth shooting, and try to make a little bit more out of what I'm doing here. Okay, so there's a little bit of a foreground element over here. There's a couple of big rocks in the stream. However, as you can see, there's a big wall of like brush and stuff that got apparently washed downstream. We had a couple of rainstorms, which is why we have all this water, and it just piled up there. So it's not a clean composition. I don't really even want to shoot it. I love hanging out in nature, but sometimes you just don't find a shot. And so I think I'm going to call it a wrap for this session here in terms of what I'm doing in the field. Let's pop into my, my office. I'm going to load up some of the shots and see what I can come up with in Luminar. So see you in a second.
All right, guys, I'm back in the office, and so I've got 12 photos. So let me show you my Luminar, or I imported them in Luminar. Let me show you here. So here it is. There's 12 photos. I just made a little folder on my desktop called Waterfalls. It's got 12 photos. I'll just pop into them, and so I can just run through these. And no, I don't know why in Luminar 3. I mean, assuming it's a bug, but if you notice when I click on the photo and show it, it changes colors for a split second and then changes back. I've had people ask me, I have no idea. I mean, I know they're working on things. So I think we get another performance update at the end of January. We'll see. But anyway, so here's, you know, let me just go back to this first photo. This is the first photo I took. And according to my information, it's f/14 at 30 seconds, right? So all of these were the 10-stop filter, which I love. You can see the water is nice and smooth coming down the waterfall, but also the water on the pond and the surface is really smooth. Whereas, you know, in reality, it was pretty rough because it's flowing water. So That's what I love about a 10 stop. If you don't have one, I absolutely just adore them, and I think it's an incredibly wonderful thing to have. In fact, I did a vlog about me shooting some other waterfalls here in Austin that I'll put in that corner. I think it's that corner. I can never remember. I got to remember, like maybe it's my left. Anyway, so I'll put that link up there if you want to check it out. It's all about the 10-stop filter, so I won't delve into that. But I gotta admit, like I went through all these photos and, you know, I'm dealing with harsh shadow, as I said. You can see the shadow of that tree, which is actually a cool shadow, but like right in the middle of the waterfall, it just kind of sucks. So, you know, I gotta admit, like I'm not really that excited about any of the photos. I mean, as I click through them, you can kind of see some of these are a little bit darker. I was trying this one here with this other section of the waterfall and that tree coming across, thinking I could get kind of a cool looking thing with the tree coming over and the shadow, but I don't know. I don't really like it. So I went back to the regular waterfall. Like, that's not bad. I mean, like I could edit this photo. In fact, I'll just do that real quick. Let me just throw I'm kind of doing this on the fly. So let me just throw a couple things on here and see what happens. But, you know, like I said, I'm looking at the photo and I'm not really like digging it too much. And a lot of it's because the shadow there right in the middle is just, it sucks, to be honest. It's just in the freaking way. I can fix some of the other things I don't like about the photo, like I got too much top there, you know, in the top of the photo. I wanted to shoot it with the entire waterfall. However, you know, I pick up all that other stuff that's kind of extraneous, so I may have to crop that out. So we'll do that here in a minute. Maybe a little smart tone. And in fact, I think I'm going to stick a vignette on here. I'm kind of into vignettes lately. You may have noticed that. But let me crop. Let me try a 16 by 9. Let's see here. Sorry, this is like live editing. So that's actually not bad. I actually might pull that in a little bit that way. Yeah, I think a little bit. Yeah, a little bit of that water. Let's see here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so that's not so bad. I mean, you know, I eliminated some of the messy foreground. The cool thing with the vignette is it stays post-crop because I've got post-crop selected. So there's before and there's after. So it basically moved the vignette with the crop, which I think is a really cool feature. So that's not bad. But, you know, again, you know, the highlights are it's probably a little too bright. I'll try black and white. Let's try that. Black and white conversion. And, you know, there we go. Maybe I can make it a little bit more high contrast. But again, with that kind of a cool looking shadow with it looks like its arms and stuff, but I just don't like the placement of it. It doesn't really belong in the photo, and I don't know, it just kind of jacks it up for me. So there's a photo, but you know, not a particularly great one. Here's another one that I did where I went for a square crop. Let me show you the original unedited. It looked like that, except not square, of course. And I did something similar here. I did raw develop. Well, I had the tone filter. I didn't use that. I used a little accent AI and a little vignette. But again, you know, before and after, you know, part of the vignette thing there is killing some of my long exposure on my in the foreground. So here's something you can do is you can just add the exposure filter. Here's what I want to do. I just want to darken kind of the top. So you can add the exposure filter and you can drop the exposure, and then you can just go with a gradient mask and just drop it in like that. And it'll just darken some of the top of that, right? That's a way to sort of darken the top of the photo without darkening the bottom. So basically my mask, let me just click on that, looks like that, right? So all I did is I darkened that piece of the photo and sort of blended it in. It kind of looks like it goes. Maybe it's a little too dark, so I might would brighten that a little bit. But that's a way to get a little bit more darker up there without sort of messing up the bottom. You could do the reverse. You could just add exposure filter again to brighten the foreground. And so now I might just say I'm going to drag the exposure to the right, something like that, and then get the gradient mask and just drag it in from the bottom, something like that. You can see my mask is showing. Let me turn that off, and I'm going to say done. So let me turn that filter off, before and after. So, you know, I went from that to that. But again, I'm not really that jazzed about it. I mean, bad timing with the light, which is really bad planning on my part because I knew it was bright outside. It's the middle of the day. So I should know better than that. But my thinking was, hey, it's winter and the trees will cover this shade. You know, it's really shady down in this little gully where the waterfall is. And I wasn't thinking because it's winter, there's no leaves on the trees. So just bad planning. And I really should have brought my my telephoto, which is a 24 to 240, which would allow me to, I could really get in here and get a tight shot, a long exposure on the bottom of the waterfall, and get some really cool long exposure, sort of that silky look there. So I could have planned better, could have done a better job. So I don't know if you're getting anything out of this video. I guess the point is that it doesn't really always go to plan. I had some amazing photos in mind, or I like that kind of fairy pool look that I did in that other video that I linked. I was thinking maybe do something like that, or maybe some really cool long exposure black and whites. But bad light, wrong choice of lens, a shadow just in a really unfortunate place, didn't really work for me. So I guess the point is, you can't always just stick them in Luminar or whatever your software of choice is and just turn it into a winner with lots of cool filters and massaging the photo. I've done that plenty. I'm as guilty, probably more guilty than anybody, of trying to take an okay photo and make it look a whole lot better. But some cases you just can't really overcome some of the limitations that either you're dealt with a light and a shadow, or that you bring on yourself, which is not having really the right equipment. I just thought I could get by with a wide angle, and I was wrong. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe go back here soon on a cloudy day, or later in the day when the shadows are gone and when the sun is maybe close to setting, so it's not going to be such a harsh kind of shadowed environment, and bring the other lens and do it right. So hope it helps. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, right? And today I kind of lost, but it happens. And you know what? I was still out taking photos. Beats the hell out of sitting on Facebook or something. So that's it for today, my friends. I hope this was helpful. If you got any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll talk to you soon, my friends. Have a great one. Take care, and adios.